Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban was granted a private audience with Pope Leo XIV at the Vatican. The meeting, described by the Vatican as cordial, focused on Hungary's push for Vatican backing of what Orban calls his anti-war efforts, even as the rest of Europe keeps arming Ukraine.
There is a secret war-fighting network in the world, if I may say so. I'm talking about a network of leaders who are known to everyone, and especially to each other, that peace is the most important thing for them. This network has two focal points. One is a huge one where peace is needed, and there are real political tools that can be used during the war. The US president is standing here in the middle. The former US president did not stand here. And there is a spiritual focal point of this network, where the war-fighting politicians get energy, motivation, commitment, dedication and courage over and over again. And this is here in the Vatican with the Holy Father.
Orban's Vatican outreach comes as the Budapest Peace Initiative, meant to host a face-to-face between Presidents Trump and Putin, has been postponed indefinitely. Speaking in Brussels, Orban accused pro-war elites in Europe of sabotaging peace talks.
They would already like to get rid of this burden, but they rode themselves so deep into the war. In fact, they themselves lured, even pushed Ukraine into the direction of war. They were the ones, even in the most recent times, who tried to obstruct the American president's peacemaking attempts. They deceived their own citizens with the tale that the Russians are coming, that Uncle Putin will gobble you up in the evening, say in Paris or Berlin. So it's very difficult now to come back from this war psychosis and atmosphere.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov, in an interview with Hungary's ultra-hang YouTube channel, praised Orban as Europe's only sane voice, describing him as the one leader in the EU who still fights for peace.
I repeatedly discussed this with Peter Szijarto, and he assured me that when Hungary fights politically, diplomatically for the right of national minorities, Hungary means all national minorities as international conventions, as the United Nations Charter require. And we appreciated the role Hungary played when this framework for negotiations with Ukraine on accession to the European Union was discussed. And Hungary, I think, single-handedly insisted that these chapters on negotiating accession included quite considerable language on national minorities, on their rights, and it is formulated not just about European Union languages. It's about all languages and all national minorities, and we appreciate that Hungary happened to be basically the country which single-handedly achieved this.
Lavrov also confirmed that the Alaska framework between Trump and Putin remains alive, but accused European hawks of undermining US-Russia cooperation.
And so there are enough people who are not very polite and who impose themselves upon Washington politicians and use each and every means to undermine the process which could have achieved its goals some time ago. And one very telling thing is they're trying to push President Trump from the logic which he repeatedly presented in the past, and I will quote a couple of his statements regarding how this crisis should be resolved.
Back home, Orban has warned that Europe's economy cannot survive endless war. He argues that the EU's sanctions and weapons spending have crippled growth, calling for an end to pro-war hysteria.
Yes, it's that simple. If there were peace, then the Eurozone's economic outlook, Europe's economic outlook, the possibility of growth would not be 1%, but 3 or 4. If there were no sanctions, if we didn't spend our money on war in Ukraine, if economic cooperation with the Russians were restored, the European economy, including Hungary's, would be in a completely different situation. If there's war, there's no development. If there's peace, there's development. It's that simple.
Despite EU criticism and funding cuts, Orban continues to defy Brussels. Now backed morally by the Vatican and diplomatically by Moscow. Hungary, he insists, won't join what he calls Europe's suicidal war chorus.
The European People's Party determines the Hungarian opposition's politics. These parties are told what to say. Their masters in Brussels want war. The only grouping in Europe that stands for peace and against war is the Patriots. The People's Party and the Socialists, they are the ones who continue the war. They don't want to come down from the war line. Only we, Hungarians, want peace here.
As the Trump-Putin peace summit hangs in uncertainty, Viktor Orban is building his own coalition of conscience, one that now runs through Moscow and the Vatican.
Melchizedek was quite in line to both the works of art in the different rooms in this sound. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.